Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all our witnesses for being here today. Look, Canadians are feeling unsafe on their roads. They're feeling unsafe in their communities. I hear the language from all of our witnesses here today, things like criminality, exploitation and forced labor, chaos. These are not things that I would usually associate with the trucking industry, which used to be a job that could put food on the food on the table for a family. And the companies that I know in my area, like Barry and Smith Trucking, have great reputation as family generational businesses. So maybe I'll start with the CTA. Mr. Laskowski, can you identify, you said that there is a neglect after 10 years of successful Liberal governments. Can we start where the neglect has been most acute in your industry?
So, it's from a federal perspective, it's twofold. The major responsibility at the federal level is both at the CRA with the PSB and the T4A, and then again at the labor side with the misclassification. I'll start on the tax side. With the T4As, the moratorium went in 2011. It was supposed to be temporary. We're now moving on 14. The definition of temporary, I don't believe, makes 14 years. It is an open gateway for misclassification and tax evasion. There are no records of these folks, and so they're able to hide. That is why there are many drivers participating in this. Some are forced and some are coerced, as you've heard, and then others just see it as the ability, I just won the lottery, the government doesn't care.
In April, I should say earlier this spring, Mark Carney called an election, and that killed some important parliamentary authorizations that would allow CRA to be able to do this work, to be getting on a misclassification. What's the CTA's opinion of this setback?
Well, we need that legislation back. It is critical that the CRA and the ESDC work together. They've committed to doing that to us, and that's an important step in ending driver Inc. A step, not the whole solution, but a step.
I've heard that 85% of the complaints regarding the Canadian Labour Code stem from the trucking industry. Is that about right?
That's, the answer is yes, the short answer, but I'm quite verbose, as you're about to all find out over the next hour. And I think you and others have said it, you're shocked that this isn't your father's trucking company anymore. We are all here as long-serving trucking members. It takes us with no great pride to come here, committee members, to talk about our industry the way you just heard it. We need this industry cleaned up. And the reality, committee members, is that the answer is yes.
So in your opinion, there are some very bad actors out there that are ruining your industry, that are making our highways unsafe and your industry chaotic. Would you also say that the government has been adding fuel to the fire by its continued inaction? What are some of the tangible steps that they should immediately take to secure our roads?
Bring back the T4As, enforce PSBs, and start going out with serious teeth enforcing misclassification at the federal level.
Okay. I'd like to just quickly go to Ms. Walker of the Women's Trucking Federation of Canada. You had mentioned earlier exploitation and forced labor. Those are shocking words to me, ma'am. What do you think is, who are these people that are being abused, and how in this day and age are we allowing this kind of conduct?
I think what might be shocking for the committee members to hear is that these are people that are coming to Canada through legitimate pathways. They're coming through as TFWs, LMIAs. They're recruited over in their own country. Are
you saying that our immigration system is fueling this?
Yes.
So structurally, explain that, please. How is the lack of action at the Canadian government level allowing this kind of gross behavior?
A lot of times for most of these immigrants, when they come over here and they're on a work placement, they have to work at one place. They don't know what that employer is like other than what they're told when they're recruited. I have drivers now that I have helped that have been only living inside of a truck, which is a little box. They're being paid 38 cents a mile. The rest of the fleet's being paid 70 cents a mile. They don't have their passports. They're running Canada only.
We have limited time, but I just want to say thank you for being brave and coming forward, all of you for being brave to come and say something that I know you've all had a great career in this industry, so it must sadden you. But Canada's Conservatives, we believe that this can be fixed, but only if the government starts taking action now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Albus. Next, we'll go to Mr. Kelly.
Thank you very much. And thanks to our witnesses for being with us today. I think that your testimonies are very instructive, and these things are worth bringing to the light, and that's why it's important to move forward with this study. I'm taking advantage of this opportunity to share with you that we held a press conference yesterday with members of the trucking industry. There were 10 to 15 different businesses present, in addition to national associations. Essentially, they were there to mobilize strongly because for them, this is a question of life and death, literally life and death for these legitimate businesses. And it's also a life and death matter for the people who are driving our roads. I find it absolutely awful that the government has not yet taken up the situation. For the time being, the government seems to be mute and seems to be voluntarily blinded to the reality of the situation. Mr. Laskowski, how many meetings have you had with the government?
Lost count on the number of meetings I've had with the government, with Jonathan and Jeffrey. We've been lobbying this issue since 2018 officially. The government has been very responsive in granting us meetings. We've had multiple meetings. The issue is, are we going to get some action? And I believe you would have heard that from the carriers you're dealing with. This is a complicated issue. We're a mature organization, and complicated issues take time. But not 7 years. Not 7 years.
Donc, je comprends que si vous avez perdu.
I understand that whether if you've lost count of the number of meetings you've had, it's because the government is well aware of this problem and has been informed as to possible solutions to implement to resolve the problem. As you yourself mentioned, in 2023, or rather 2022, in the fall economic statement, the government said it had understood the problem and was going to act because it said that it wanted to do something. But it didn't happen in the 2023 budget, despite the undertaking in the fall economic statement in 2022. Do you know what happened with the amounts that were announced in that fall economic statement of 2022? And do you know whether what happened in 2023? Have you been told any reason why it didn't happen? Two questions.
What happened and what didn't happen? The money was given to the Ministry of Labor, ESDC at the time, to enter in enforcement, and that is in action, and it is a good step forward. It is somewhat, to be quite honest with you, we're thankful for it, but it's like giving us an umbrella in a hurricane. We need a lot more enforcement than that. But what didn't happen was the commitment in that economic statement that we would get a resolution from CRA. And folks, this isn't complicated. I'm trying not to be dismissive or look argumentative, but it's really simple. It's bring back the T4As, which you've had on moratorium for 14 years, and start enforcing the personal service businesses, which you've studied. And maybe Jonathan, if the committee will allow, can explain the study that took place there. And they committed to enforcing PSBs, and then they uncommitted. So maybe, Jonathan, you can explain a little bit, if Mr. Chair, if you would allow just my representative to explain what happened here.
It would be up to Mr. Barcelou Duval. It is his time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Il me reste combien de temps?
Vous reste 2 minutes et demi.
Ouais,
How much time do you have left? You have 2.5 minutes. Yes, in that case, go ahead.
Thanks. So, when there's the T4A issue, there's also the PSB issue, and they're related. And when CRA studied the PSB issue, they found gross noncompliance. When the personal business classification was first introduced, trucking was nearly non-existent. It was something that professionals used, IT, that sort of thing. Now we fast forward, this is sort of the 80s, 90s. Now we fast forward today, we find trucking is by far the number one user of the model. When when CRA studied it, they found on average just under $17,000 per person in tax evasion identified. They identified trucking as the number one user. And within that, they also found the reasoning. So when speaking with people in the sector, why are you engaging in this? Why are you doing this? It was all the answers the industry had always said. They talked about how their employer told them to do it. They talked about how they were told it was a condition of employment. They were told that it was a gray area for taxation. They were told it was, some safe haven in the tax world. And of course, none of this was true. So CRA knows all of this.
Merci pour votre réponse. J'en retiens surtout le
Thank
chiffre
you
que
for your answer. I'm retaining the figure that you mentioned. You said about 70,000, did you say, of tax evasion per person? Per Driver Inc. driver that's been lost to government coffers?
17
per
OK,
driver,
17 000.
but just in that
OK.
small sample.
17.
OK. Ben, on se doute qu'aujourd'hui, ça serait encore plus que ça.
So I would imagine that today it's higher than that even. The parliamentary secretary talked about some of the things the government did or demonstrated the willingness to do in this file. I'd like to know whether since 2022, 23, 24, again with Mr. Laskowski, have you seen this happen? Has this phenomenon gotten less or more pervasive?
It's so. Are you holding up the red sign, Mr. Chair?
Not yet. It's almost
Okay.
there.
The answer is it's getting progressively worse. Inside the document that you have there, you will see the stats from ESDC presenting on this. And the one that I will say the most clear to understand what you are dealing with. When ESDC went to go visit these carriers, the trucking owners, let's be clear, the trucking owners, when they found that they were in gross violation, 25% of them, when they went back a month or 45 days later to see if they would get in compliance, they couldn't find them. They were gone. This is what we're dealing with.
Thank you very much.